So, I'm kinda late to this, but I just finished Brave New World, and I gotta say, the concept of our hedonistic desires and conformist consumerism, swallowing us and making us blind to the crumbling societal ideals around us and the authoritative regimes is pretty whack. I mean, I know it's 25 and it came out in 1932, but man, the similarities between the society depicted and the society we live in are striking. Oh wait, that's the wrong one. More like it. Captain America Brave New World is a movie of all time, directed by Julius Onah, who is a pretty, well, he has a track record of all time. Actually, I hated Cloverfield Paradox. That movie was doo-doo. It was such a cop-out, except for the last 5 minutes or so. Okay, getting carried away. As we all know, Brave New World acts as a sequel to the Falcon and the Winter Soldier TV series, and the fourth installment in the Captain America saga. Reshoots, and after reshoots, the end product was meh. Notice how I said product? Because at the end of the day, there is nothing brave or new about this sequel. It is merely a product.
You are simply bad product.
Made for mass appeal. It's a shame because unlike characters like Ms. Marvel, Antman, or heck, dare I even say Deadpool, Captain America movies have always been political, heavy in their messaging, and always provided a beacon of virtues and ideals to strive towards. Sam Wilson, on the other hand, or to be more accurate, Marvel Studios and Kevin Feign, who are the puppeteers behind everything, decided to opt for a more safe and conventional route, which is a shame because what we get in the end feels voiceless, bland, and to put it simply, castrated. So, what exactly is wrong with Captain America Brave New World? In this video, I will dive into 10 personal problems I had with it in no particular order. Do let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. I'm sure I'll be saying some controversial opinions. So without further ado, there is a lack of comic pride. Not comic accuracy, but pride. I say this because the movie feels and looks like a generic action movie, which is saddening because whereas the new DCU is going full out on comic accuracy, from the world building to the colors to even the costume designs, here everything is dull and uninspired. But Captain Homie, the producers clearly intended for a more grounded, gritty, and dark tone. Yes, you're right to say that, but embracing comic roots doesn't necessarily mean you can't have a serious overtone. Take Captain America Civil War for example. We all know it was nothing really like the comics, but the main antagonist, Baron Zemo, is still treated like a formidable foe, a human force not to be reckoned with, just like the comics. Or rewind time to the first Avenger and the Winter Soldier, where Steve and Bucky's friendship is explored and expanded on because their friendship already existed way back in the 40s. Here, Red Hawk is stripped off of his fiery personality from the comics, Sam doesn't even stick to his comic accurate suit, and the villains are generic goons. Which brings me to my second point. Uninteresting villains. Imagine if the movie opened with a cold montage of the Serpent Society partaking in their daily activities to show that they're just average Joes like us, except maybe they're ex-military and one of them is, I don't know, a half wizard. Anyways, but they're still participating members of society nonetheless. Then, the montage shows them struggling to adapt to the MCU world post-blip because of the socio-economic implications of 3.5 billion people dying, like inflation, border crisis, lack of housing amenities, destroyed infrastructure, and an uncaring government touched upon superficially in the show. You know, American political and economical issues that actually matter in a Captain America movie? I digress. The point is, the Serpent Society, having no resemblance to their kick-ass, wacky and fun comic counterparts. Another problem this movie has is that it's just way too similar to the Winter Soldier. From the cold opening fight scene, to a brainwashed veteran friend that our captain has to defend, to one captain, one Falcon, and one Black Widow team, to a hidden conspiracy plot from within the government, to the final fight scene being resolved with talk no jutsu, to the damn suit Sam Wilson wears. It's like Disney had no confidence in this movie because of the threat posed by the anti-woke, anti-right critic. Actually, you know what? This isn't gonna be one of those channels that uses buzzwords. So the point is, Disney wanted a new Captain America without making a new plot and by taking the easy way out. And as a result, the box office suffers, to no one's surprise. A hero's journey should feel like an evolution. Sam's character at the end of the movie should be different from when we first meet him, but does Brave New World actually give us that? Not really. Take Sam's role as Captain America. What does it mean for him? What does he struggle with? If you say he needs to prove himself, he already did that in his own 6-hour show. Compare this to Steve Rogers. In the first Avenger, he goes from a scrawny underdog to a super soldier. But his real growth isn't physical, it's moral. He learns what it means to lead, to make sacrifices, and to inspire. In The Winter Soldier, Steve Rogers grapples with a world that has lost its ideals, forcing him to decide whether he should still follow orders blindly or fight for what he believes in. In Civil War, the movie takes that to the extreme, testing his loyalty to his friends versus his duty to the world. Every film gave Steve depth and felt like a natural progression of his character. But Sam Wilson? His arc is almost non-existent. He doesn't learn a new lesson, he doesn't change his worldview, and he doesn't have to make any significant choices. Eventually, at the end of the movie, Sam Wilson decides to start a new Avengers initiative. Let's call it the New Avengers Act. And then Joaquin Torres, his buddy and sidekick, disagrees with the act. He says that superheroes should be military funded or follow military orders. And because of that clash in ideology and because of that dilemma, Sam Wilson has to abandon Joaquin Torres and they have a falling out. But, none of that really happens. There were no significant choices. And that's the worst thing a character can be, static. Star Wars suffered from this, and it's a shame to see Marvel taking the wrong notes from Star Wars. Now, let's talk about the action here. I don't expect every MCU film to have John Wick level action sequences, but Brave New World has some of the most uninspired and bland action sequences I've seen in a Marvel film. Where's the creativity? Where's the personality in the fight scenes? The close combat fight scenes were super dull, and say what you will about the Winter Soldier, but those fights felt raw. Its elevator scene, iconic. The highway fight with Bucky, a masterclass in tension and brutality. Every punch had weight, and you could really feel its impact. But in Brave New World, it's just another checklist of people punching each other with no stakes. And let's not even talk about the CGI vomit fest that was the final battle, which was filmed in front of a green screen warehouse during weeks of reshoots. Okay, up next, there is no universe progression. Look, I get it. Not every MCU film needs to shake the multiverse or introduce the next big bad. But Brave New World feels pointless. The title is Brave New World, but the movie doesn't really introduce us to a brave new world. Okay, you get the point. Nothing about this movie moves the universe forward. Sam doesn't establish a new Avengers team. There's no major shift in global politics. Red Hawk's introduction doesn't lead to anything meaningful because he gets imprisoned in the end. Maybe they bring him back for the Thunderbolts, who knows. But everything that happened in this movie is just there. And that's a huge problem because Captain America films have always set the stage for the wider MCU. The first Avenger set up, the first Avenger. He was, gonna become a member of the Avengers. The Winter Soldier destroyed S.H.I.E.L.D., brought it back, and changed the entire world order. Then Civil War tore the Avengers apart. Brave New World, it just exists. Imagine if the movie ended with a new presidential candidate like Norman Osborn or even Valentina running for Congress. It has actual implications on what it means to be a vigilante, the status of superheroes, and it ties directly to the Thunderbolts. Up next, feeble messaging and lessons. One of the biggest missed opportunities in the film is its political and social commentary. Captain America movies have always been about something, what it means to be an American. But here, whatever message they were trying to push feels muddled and toothless. If this film wanted to explore the corruption within the government, it should have fully leaned into it. If it wanted to tackle racial inequalities and the burden of being a black Captain America, or even a black man in the modern society, it should have had the courage to do so. Instead, it tries to say everything and ends up saying nothing. Up next, a boring protagonist. Look, I like Sam Wilson, I really do. In The Winter Soldier, he was a very fun side character and a great friend to Steve. In Falcon and the Winter Soldier, we saw him struggle with taking up the mantle of Captain America, which was okay. actually interesting, apart from that terrible speech he gave in the end. But in Brave New World, he's just there, following orders again. Look, Sam doesn't have to have a strong personality, okay? He doesn't have to really crack jokes like Spider-Man or be stoic and idealistic like Steve Rogers. He should be just himself, a cool black man, like from the comics. But here, he's written in a way that the studio is afraid to give him any defining traits beyond the he's a good guy and he's a Captain America. The issue isn't Anthony Mackie, okay? He's a great actor. The issue is that the script doesn't give him anything to do beyond generic hero duties. And, I say this, and from a meta standpoint, it's exactly what's wrong with the movie. He's just following orders and doing generic hero duties as Captain America. So what are his flaws? What are his fears? What makes this Captain America any different from Steve's? The movie doesn't really explore any of this in a meaningful way. And next, we have an underwhelming resolution. A good finale should leave you with something. The Captain America First Avenger, say what you want about that movie, but when it ends with Steve Rogers looking at the modern New York square and with Nick Fury introduced, and then Steve says, "I had the date," it was an emotional gut punch, and an exciting tease for the future. But here, the ending is neither satisfying or interesting, because Brave New World is just so forgettable that by the time the credits roll, you'll probably be asking yourself, that's it? Yeah, the entire movie felt like a filler episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The final battle lacks tension, the villain's defeat feels anticlimactic, Giancarlo Esposito was wasted, and Sam's personal arc, if you can even call it that, doesn't pay off in any meaningful way. Compare this to the Winter Soldier, where Steve refuses to fight Bucky, or Civil War, where the final fight between Tony and Steve hurts, because we care about both sides. In Brave New World, there's no emotional investment. It just ends. And speaking of the ending, okay Marvel, what was that post-credit scene? Post-credit scenes used to have an artistic method to it. They used to be minimalistic, exciting, and actually tease something that had implications on the universe. They teased Thanos, they hinted at Captain Marvel's presence, they teased the Avengers Initiative. They gave us those hype moments that made audiences cheer. But now, it's like Marvel just throws in a random, meaningless clip to remind you that they still exist. Brave New World could have teased something huge. Maybe a direct setup for Thunderbolts, or even the new Avengers, or really something that actually matters, anything but what we got. And what do we get? Another multiverse reference that nobody cares about anymore. Marvel needs to stop treating post-credit scenes like advertisements, obligations, and just mandatory corporate stingers, and start making them events again. Right now, they feel like afterthoughts. If you don't have a need for a post-credit scene, just scrap it, Sometimes less is more. And in this case, this was a case of an over-bloated mess of a movie with an underwhelming credit scene that no one asked for. This credit scene was whack. Everybody's happy now. They had heard the words repeated 150 times every night for 12 years. Aldous Huxley, the author of Brave New World. So with that, I conclude this video. I hope more and more fans of the MCU can be more vocal about their criticisms and critiques so that we can hold these studios accountable so that they give us creative movies that once were in the earlier phases. We're not seeking perfection, but we hope they also treat us like intelligent viewers and give us something worth purchasing tickets for. So, thank you for your time, and let me know what you think of Brave New World in the comments below.